All right. You
You
got
know,
the intro, buddy. I love
I'm
the
still,
cigarettes already lit up and ready to go. Awesome.
I'm still waiting for the intros to my shows, just so you know. I don't know when they're going to be produced.
I have to do it. I'm late. I've been lazy, I guess. And part of it is I started doing all these all the next class of prospect videos.
Oh, right. That's right.
2027, like the top
It's
guys.
2027?
Yeah, yeah. And
It's that
I'm
far
doing
ahead.
two things. 2027, like guys who obviously they're what is 2027?
Yeah.
Sophomores. And then we're doing guys locally that we know that we think are really good that are older, trying to help them
God, that's
and putting
crazy.
them out there. So we're doing like the national stuff and the local stuff, and I'm doing 2 a day. So
So,
it,
do you actually create
yeah.
the highlight video?
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. I
Oh, you
take their
don't.
highlight video,
And you send
uh,
it.
I condense it, I talk over it, like I point out what I'm
Oh,
yeah, voice
wow.
over it. Uh,
Okay.
I have the information on them on the top, like,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, I'd
and
love
then
to see one.
I'll
So you
show
don't
you.
have to show me now. I'd love to see how you do it. Do you give a rating?
The high level, we the kids that we think are that we do videos on, we think are at least
Well, that's
scholarship
right.
kids. But
That's
then
right.
there are the bona fide 5-star, like the 2027s are kids that we say are 5 stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
I
only
feel
do so we do a little bit different. Like
yeah.
we basically have this kind of two categories. We have kids that are bona fide 5 stars, and then kids who we think are scholarship kids, right? So
Right.
we don't really
You
so
don't
we
take the shock troopers.
the 5 stars, I say, hey, these are the 5 stars. These guys are no doubters on everybody's board. Like, um, they're all on everybody's board. It's just that we rate them 5. Some may not rate them 5 stars, but we're rating them 5. But they're on it. They're offered probably by almost everybody. These guys, and then even as sophomores, and then the other ones we do are kids that are either have some offers or maybe borderline. Those are some of the older kids that we're trying to get to the finish line. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like
We
like rock, so
yeah. We talked about that on we did a podcast on the scholarships going to 105 and the
oh, yeah, I
roster
wanna look at that,
being
yeah.
105.
Yep,
And Joe Villapiano, who coached at Harvard and Cornell, played with us at UConn.
yep.
He thinks that altogether it's because of the transfer portal. They're going to just take less and less freshmen, and it's going to be more transfers, and it's going to be harder for freshmen to get offers. He
Do you
thinks,
It's probably gonna be like the, minor league system, basically.
yeah, yeah, that's
You're
what he
gonna have
was.
to go D2 unless you're like a mega star.
That's exactly what he was saying. He
You're gonna have to
said
go
that
D2 or FCS to start.
yep, yep, that's what he was saying. You'll have to prove yourself at a lower level first, and then go to the big time because like he's saying right now, like they're calling LSU's fourth string corner, Georgia's fourth string corner, and
Sure.
saying at USC, hey, you want to come play here? Hey, because there's no like rules on contact, I guess, or they go through a middleman to get to them.
So,
Which,
like, remember Cormani McLean who was at,
oh yeah,
so everyone was like, "Oh, Cormani McLean sucks," and he was a 5 star, right? He went to
yeah,
Colorado. Dion and him didn't get along or whatever, or he didn't do what Dion wanted him to do. They basically got rid of him. He walked on, but he got an NIL deal. But he walked on to Florida. Dude, at first he was struggling, like allocating himself. Dude, last week he picked off the ball. He's starting to make plays all over the place. So it's
yeah,
like, so it's easier to go get a guy like that, right?
yeah,
He was a 5 star in high school and just figure, hey, if I could just get him in the direction we want, he's going to make plays. And it took like 6, 7 weeks, but hey, he's starting right away. Just
yeah.
took time. right, for him to play good, versus a freshman who you know is not going to start right away, who's not going to start till he might be a sophomore or junior in most cases.
Exactly.
And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Like, so it's not fair to the high school kid and the high
No,
school coach, in my opinion,
no,
because it puts the high school coaches in a bind. It puts them in a bind.
no. And less kids are
Play the
getting
game.
scholarships more than ever. I mean, I think last year's class was the lowest number offered in like decades
Yeah,
because of the transfer portal.
it's crazy. But all right. So let's talk to preview, and we have our guest right below.
Ah, Pete is here.
There he is.
There he is. Pete. Nice to meet you finally.
You as well. Sorry for being so late. Had some.
No, we know.
Okay.
Pete does physical therapy. He does PT. Yeah. He does that.
He was always a smart guy. I remember
that's
that.
right. I forgot
I
you know
remember
him.
that
That's
Pete.
right. I forgot.
He had a big time pick against BU. I think it was BU when I was a redshirt freshman. Remember that game? This was when you were a senior, right?
It was before the half. Yeah.
When we were that was when they had the little short quarterback, right? He was good though. He was good.
Yeah.
And I was a fullback at the time, and we were playing great. You had that pick at the end of the half, but unfortunately, BU came back. I think right. He came back. It was a close game.
They were conference champions. They're conference champions that year.
That was for the championship, right? That was really for.
That was they canceled the program.
Yeah, if we had won, we would have been champions, and we would have went to the playoff. They won, and they went to the playoff instead, and we went home.
And they dropped the program
or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember that interception too, because the play before I gave up a 40-yard reception. I just missed the ball, and Coach Williams was like beat red.
Oh yeah,
I was so mad. I went in the huddle. I told Parker. I told Lamont Parker, I'm like, I'm picking off the next one, and I did. Yeah.
Was that Greg Williams, the DC that they talk about? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
No relation to the Greg Williams. That's
right.
Different guy.
Right. The bounty guy.
Yeah, it's a totally different guy. But this guy was as crazy as Greg Williams, the NFL guy is. The one who coached at UConn. Pete could probably tell you stories.
I heard.
He was a great coach. Not everybody liked him because he got in your ass pretty good. And if you weren't tough-minded, you weren't mentally tough.
Yep.
He had a hard time dealing with his coaching style, but he was a great coach.
Yeah, they said he knew his stuff inside and out.
Oh, he was the guy that we wanted when Skip Holtz got.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
They fired. That was your senior year, right? That they fired.
Yeah. Coach was supposed to be in the line for the job. He was the number one candidate. He told me that, and then Skip came in and got the job, and he agreed to be a coordinator, I think, for the next year, and then left for Georgia, where he went on to coach Hines Ward and Champ Bailey.
Right.
Wow. Right. Yeah. I did not know that.
It was just like Vernon Hargraves lasted 2 or 3 more years. They went on to Miami and was with Dan Morgan and Vilma and all those guys.
Yeah, I remember we played them. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember seeing him after everyone was talking to him. Pete.
Teddy Walton just got honored at UConn this past weekend. That was my running backs coach before I moved to linebacker. That was my running backs coach, Teddy Walton, who was a great player at UConn.
I did not know that.
I don't know, maybe late 70s. I'm not sure.
I think he's a second leading interception leader in history of UConn.
And he was the late 70s, early 80s, right?
Yes. He played in USFL. A couple years with the Steelers, I believe. Yeah. And then he was an all-league player in the USFL, believe it or not, 1 year.
Oh, he was? So, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's legit. Coach Walton was legit. He was a good player.
No, I was just gonna ask Pete, during the games, are you up in the box? Do they put you up in the box to watch it? Any of the
Depending on
football?
what coaching staff I'm in. And you talking about current games?
Yeah, the current team.
At UConn?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on a TV set, man. I'm in Charlotte.
Oh, well, I know you do one of the shows. That's why I didn't know for sure if you went to the games at all.
No, I'm watching exclusively on TV and whatever film I can get.
I got you. Okay.
I haven't been to a live game in about a couple of years. Like whenever they come down to North Carolina, I'll definitely go and see them. I wasn't able to do it this past year because there's I think there was a change in schedule. Yeah, there was a change in schedule, and I was coaching my son's flag football team, and they changed the game to 6 p.m. We had a 3 p.m. game, and we just decided not to go because it's
that's
about
tight.
3 hours to get to Durham from where I'm at. So, but normally I get to see them whenever they come down to Carolina.
How old is your son?
He's 11. He's gonna be 12 next month.
And you had an older son too, right? That one was playing in.
Yep, he's 27 now.
Oh my God!
Wow, you look young.
Wait a minute. So that was like
10
years ago when you reached out to me about we're telling me. What?
Yeah, he's
Dave. How do you have a 9-year-old and he's got a 27-year-old?
Because I started late.
Well,
obviously, Pete's second.
Yeah, he started a little later than.
Yes, obviously his younger child is from him doing it again at a later time.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't understand the part.
I always joke my wife and I are one at a time kind of people.
That's funny.
Well, apparently I am too, I guess. I have a 9-year-old. I'm 50. So that's but actually
good,
it's
man.
fun. It's fun, man. It's like you understand life a lot more, you know what I mean? So they're kind of things that you can relate when you're older, you know, that I think I see younger parents can't, and you were a younger parent with your older child, but it's different, right? It's different when you're an older parent. Like you see them doing things and you're like, yeah, you know.
I'd be pulling my hair out. I'd be pulling my hair.
Some of it is true with age, but I always tell younger fathers especially, there's not going to be any other human being on the face of the earth that's going to make you look in the mirror more than your own child.
Right.
For good or for better or for worse. It's the best experience. It's the most frightening experience at the same time.
Yep.
And it's a big blessing. Wouldn't trade it for the world. Would not trade it for the world.
No, it's amazing. The day they come into the world, you're like, you're right. You're super excited, and you're like, oh my God,
what do I do?
You're so fearful because you're responsible for everything.
Right.
All right, let's talk some UConn football. Go ahead, Steve.
Pete, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Wake Forest game. I watched the film a couple times through. I thought defensively they did as good as they could, and holding them to 13 points. That offense, the zone read they run is very, very tricky. Something you don't see every day. Offensively, I despise their run game right now. I'm sorry, and Dave knows this. They run outside zone. They run out of the gun. I hate it out of the gun because the back's got to turn their shoulders perpendicular and run and try to stick a foot and cut north. I just don't like it, and I don't think they have enough compliments off of it. And that's kind of what's hindered them. And I know that people want. On the message boards I've read they want Joe Vignano back at quarterback, but I mean I definitely think Nick is the better player. What were your thoughts on the game and the quarterback position?
Well, I agree with you with the defense. I think the defense, considering the type of system that they play and the fact that Wake Forest is the only team in the country that runs that slow mesh, I think they did a very good job in slowing it down. I've been on other shows where I pointed out that this same team scored 40 plus points on North Carolina State.
They did.
And have when they're in rhythm, have given people fits. They have a 6th-year quarterback in Brockmeyer who started as a freshman at Boise State. Tells you his capability. So to limit them to 23 points and to give themselves a chance to be in the game, I thought spoke well to Matt Brock and the way he schemed the defense. They got their shots. Defense got their shots. They did as well as they could. In terms of the offense and the run game, I don't necessarily mind the outside zone. I understand your point from running it under center more, because just the aiming points are a little bit more straight line for the running backs, and may create more and better fits for the offensive line running it out that way. But they do it the way they do it. I would imagine that as Nick gets healthy, they're going to complement it with some read option, some run pass option. Yes, out of the read, which is why they want to run out of the gun. They're setting things up for the future. But yeah, I saw on TV, having coached offensive line myself, some technical issues in terms of not getting their hips in the way of defenders, particularly frontline defenders, as much as they should. Definitely having trouble with rub-offs of double teams of second-level players.
Absolutely.
And allowing them to make plays for on the running backs with clean hits for 1 or 2 yard gains. So that's something they gotta fix and shore up. In terms of the quarterback play, I can understand everybody's liking for Joe. I mean, he's done nothing but produce when he's asked to fill in. Although his MO, going from last year when teams have had time to game plan for him, they've slowed him down. The Temple game was the first time he really made plays and dug himself out of that. So that shows his progression. But the talent of Nick Evers is clear. Saw him evolve even during the game from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, because they took away the run game. The options that we had left were in the passing game, and he threw for a career high. So I don't mind our quarterback position. We have 2 really good ones. But it's clear to see, Nick's talent, and he needs reps. He's going to be a good one.
And I thought the same thing. The outside zone, it doesn't look like they're reading it right now. It looks like it's a give all the way. Do you think they're reading it, or he's just giving it?
I think last game it was definitely all give.
Okay.
I think
they don't want him to take hits and possibly get concussed again. I could see.
But we were down to our 3rd left guard.
Right. Yeah, they had,
and that's at a position in the interior 3 where I've questioned the beginning of the season anyway, because they had to replace Christian Haynes, Noel, and the kid that transferred to Colorado. So they had done a good job up until the Temple game, and Temple, with the athletes they have some NFL caliber athletes on the defensive line. They kind of exploited them a little bit in terms of their explosivity and their quickness. And same thing kind of applied a little bit to Wake Forest, but not to the extent of Temple. Temple had blown back a couple people beyond the line of scrimmage, and as a result, made our second level blocks occur only 1 yard downfield past the line of scrimmage as opposed to 4. This game, I saw maybe 1 or 2, but it seemed like almost every play, particularly at the left guard spot, that someone was getting blown back. And that's something that has to be fixed. Again, I don't know. You played offensive line, and one big thing I always emphasized in teaching offensive lines is hip placement, because it's the center of your mass. And whenever you get your hip placed in between the defender and where he's trying to attack or where you're trying to protect, you usually have a good shot at executing a block properly. And I saw the hip placement of the offensive lineman, just out of sync or off by 4 inches, 6 inches. That's enough to give any defensive lineman leverage and get their whole body through a third of yours and rip past you, literally. And I saw that happening, and that's been our problem.
Yeah, 100%. Dave, I feel the biggest thing is aiming point. The aiming point of the running back and the aiming point of the offensive line has to match. So to get a reach block or whatever, we always used to aim 1 by 1 outside the outside number to try to get a reach. And the tackle can't get knocked back. And if the end comes inside, the guard can't give up penetration. And what Pete was talking about, I saw where the guard would get a fastball from the end coming into him. That gives up the penetration, knocks off the outside zone, and he can't even cut it back because they're not reading it, so there's flow going down the line of scrimmage. Now, once they build in the read component to it, I like either blocking on backside, have tackle on the backside end, read the backside linebacker, or you can read the backside end.
You know what they got to do to slow it down too is complementary plays off the same exact look. Okay, yes. So not just a read, because the read's good. I think he's a good runner. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, if he's an elite runner from quarterback. I think he's a good runner. An elite runner can make a lot of things right that may not work out schematically when he pulls. But short of that, which I always try to assume that, okay, even my guy's a good runner, that he's not an elite runner. So what are my complementary plays off of this that slows the flow? Okay.
Yeah. I wanted a naked. That's all I wanted.
You could scheme wide zone read or inside zone read with your backside guys and your front side guys if you don't have complementary plays off the same look, because otherwise they're just flying to their spots, right? So, and I think that as they continue to evolve the offense, they start to get those complementary plays off of it with the same set or look, right? Because if you move to a different set or look to run those plays,
tendencies,
college, right? I mean, these are elite coaches, every one of them.
Yeah.
So they immediately, that's a different look from a defensive standpoint that they're going to give you. So I think that becomes a thing that as they continue to evolve the offense, and that's one of the limitations to having two quarterbacks that are slightly different.
Right.
You limit your time.
Frank always said that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if, Pagano does this, we've talked about it. If Pagano does this well, but doesn't run well, we're not going to spend a lot of time with the read portion for him, right? We're going to give. But with Nick, we want to be able to read. And then you may not in practice, because everything's about time, be able to get to the complementary stuff you need, because you're running essentially two styles of offense for two different quarterbacks to make sure you're prepared just in case. Right. So I think that's going to evolve over time. They're going to figure that out. But that is very difficult to me for an offensive coordinator.
So, Pete, what I like off of the outside zone is a naked. And the way, we're in 20 personnel quite a bit. You can run a naked very easily off the outside zone action. The back that's front side, who normally leads out and will block a corner or safety, he comes up and then he comes underneath the line and goes into the flat. That's your flat route. He replaces the tight end who's normally backside. It runs a slam flat. Then you got the slot over the middle running the drag, and then you take the top off with the post. And then I think that is huge to keep the defense kind of on their toes, and it slows the backside action down from flowing. And it'll help the outside zone actually get to the outside, or it will create cutback lanes. I like that. And then I like the outside zone. And then I max protect it. I want to keep 6 guys in, 7 guys in, and you can run your 3-man route combinations off of it. I think play action, building more of that in, will help. I think, having him throw 40 times is a lot. That was my concern, was the 42 attempts. I think if he stays in 30 to 35, that's a good balance for him. But to only rush for 40 yards was my concern, and that's what I think hurt us the most.
I think I take a little different approach. The Patriots during their Super Bowl runs, they literally took whatever the offense gave them. Whatever the defense gave them. They may not rush up for a lot of yards, but if the pass presented itself, they would pass 50 times.
They would.
And they had stuff in their offensive system where a lot of screens replaced the run game.
That turned your run game. Yep.
And it would, selectively, get the ball to different playmakers in different spots. I see that in this offense. We have those types of playmakers. We just haven't had enough reps, like Dave said, to implement everybody and practice it. But that capability and that talent capability is there. So I don't mind taking that approach, especially if a defense is going to give you that many options in the pass game. So I think it's an evolution process for everybody, or in progress, for everyone. The quarterback, the OC calling it, being his first year, game planning. And I totally agree with your compliments off the outside zone. They do show that and have shown that every week. And they've done some other innovative things where they've worked off read option and things of that nature. So the creativity is there. It's like Cycle said, you have to have time to practice it. And, when it's complicated also with, certainty of one quarterback and two different styles of quarterbacks, you have a limited amount of time to practice those things. So it's about getting in a rhythm, coaching rhythm, a team rhythm on offense. You know about that, being an offensive player. Once that occurs with enough repetitions, that's when things really start to flow. We're not be there yet. And because we've had a lot of hiccups. Yeah.
I totally
operations
agree.
needs to work on. Yeah, operations needs to show up a little bit more.
But I like our tight ends. I think we have two good tight ends, and I still argue 12 personnel. I'd love to see some 12 personnel mixed in there, because you can go 12 personnel and have a trip set out of it with Skylar Bell, Sheffield, and the tight end to one side and the dead tight end to the other side. That's my favorite formation in football, because I like running RPOs off of it. You run the outside zone to the tight end side, and then you have your 3-man route combinations for RPOs behind it, and block the backside tackle on, read the linebacker, and throw behind it. If the linebacker flies to the outside zone, you got the slant built in behind it. You can run bubble. You can run bubble and go. I think, and I like Hunig. I think his name is, the German kid. I think he does a nice job. The other one's good too. Hansen. And the pass they scored on, the route, I thought was excellent. They ran like a post wheel. The wheel was open, and I think that Wake kind of adopted Temple's defensive mentality, where it looked like it was man free. It was man under too deep. I was talking with Joe Villapiano. He thought it was more quarters, but that's why the safeties were kind of down lower. And you're right. They're basically saying, we're going to stop the run. We're going to make you beat us with the pass. So throwing the ball 40 times, if the run's not there, you got to take what the defense gives you. I do agree with that.
Plus, Wake had held the ball for a long time, so we had to pass to get back into the game. Especially in the fourth quarter. So,
we were down. Yeah, we were down 14, and they fought back, and that's the thing that I like seeing the most, is the grit and the toughness and the never say die attitude of this team. The same thing at Duke. When they got down, they came right back and fought back into the game. So I think, as I've said several times, the dam is about to break. The dam is about to break, and it will flow. And it's not the good thing is, I don't think it's a talent issue anymore. I think they have the talent to compete with everyone who's left on their schedule, and I think that's big. And the defense, I as Dave knows, have criticized 3-3-5 since day one. I've never liked it. I think it's a gimmick defense. But those kids play out of their minds for Coach Brock, and they've gotten much, much better at disguising the blitzes, where they're coming from, and the safety rotation. So I think it's been very effective. And I never thought it would be, and they have proved me wrong in that department. But this is such a big game and a winnable game against Rice. And it's, next week is the last home game. So these are two games they definitely can get and should get. And I think if that happens, we'll be in great shape going into Syracuse.
I wholeheartedly agree. These two games are pretty big, but are very winnable.
Yeah,
Rice has, they're probably going to be coming here pretty pumped, wanting revenge for last year.
exactly. When they were good, right? And we
Yeah,
upset them.
yes. And they had a 6-year quarterback in JT Daniels last year. And we pretty much took it to them. Our front seven pretty much dictated the game and shut their offense down. They're an air raid system, a lot
Yeah,
like Temple, a little bit like Wake, although they don't run slow mesh, but they're very predicated on the pass, and they get the ball to everyone. And EJ Warner, son of Kurt Warner, he spreads the
yeah,
ball around, does a good job getting the ball out quick. And basically, I think if we play solid, keep everybody in front of us and making tackles like we should do in a 3-3-5 defense, and get pressure on him when it's called for, particularly up in his face because he's a shorter quarterback.
right.
Um, we should be successful. Other teams have done that. They did hang with Tulane pretty good up until the fourth quarter last week, so they seem to be
Correct.
finding their legs a little bit. But we're a good team too, and I think if we're on our game, uh, we'll do what we want to do in being successful.
Yep. And Dave, as we know, the Motor City Bowl team is being honored at this game, which is exciting. And none other than our favorite guest, Tyler King, is going to be ringing the bell for them to come out.
Is
I
he
think
really? Oh, that's gonna be
yes,
great.
he's ringing the bell, which means Orlovsky's not making it. They got Tyler was the defensive player of the game, and I remember I got a picture of him with the massive trophy they gave him. So it'll be fun to see Tyler out there with the war
Great.
paint. Yeah, yeah. I hope they keep him on the sidelines. I think that'll help too. I'd like to see them keep him on the sidelines. But yeah, I mean Rice is Pete said. I mean offensively they have pretty good numbers. Their quarterback EJ, like you said, he's got 10 touchdowns. He's thrown for nearly 1,600 yards. They got a pretty good running game. Their leading rusher has 472 yards, Dean Connors, and like you said, he spreads. He really does spread the ball around. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 5, 6 double digit receivers with catches, yardage. So offensively, they can produce. They can turn it on.
The key is we got to score because their defense is weak. So I mean,
Yeah,
giving up 6 points a game, they're a team that'll give up points. And
yeah. I was looking at their schedule. Yep.
we got to be able to exploit it. And they're a team that can be thrown against. You know what I mean, too. So, I mean, I think that's going to be a good opportunity for us. But you're right. Like we've got to be able to control. We can't let the game get out of hand.
We got to start fast.
Got to
Yeah.
start fast. That's the only thing that we got to work on against these better opponents is that getting out fast because it's hard. We've done a great job coming back in these games, some of these
Yeah.
games, but it's tough when you're behind the 8 ball like that. It's a long road, and if we can get out fast, and be close early on, I think we're going to win the game by a lot. So
Yeah, and
Schuman,
let's not put ourselves in that position. Exactly like you said. If they can come out and start fast and get a lead on them early and build on that momentum, that's when we've seen them explode. When they start fast, it just rolls and it keeps rolling. So that's exciting to see. And Rice is only averaging 24 points a game, and our defense with the way they're playing, I could see them holding them down 21, 17 points. And we got to be able to score 3 touchdowns. We got to be able to score 3 touchdowns. That's the biggest thing.
I got to run over to Maria's show. So when you get off, Steve, you can just kind of click to leave the studio, and I'll close it out for you.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll keep talking.
I want to give my prediction. So
yeah, the donation. Go ahead.
Make sure Pete gives his prediction.
Yeah, I will.
Right. So whoever
comes the closest, yes. Whoever comes the closest wins.
Whoever's last, right, has to donate
donate to Bleeding Blue. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so I think they're going to win this game. I think
now they're 6.5 point favorites too.
Yes. So I think that they will cover in this game. It's homecoming. I think they'll play well. I'm going to give a score of 30-21.
30-21. Okay. I am going to go 24-21.
Okay. And then you can continue after I jump off. I want to hear these scores. So
all right, go get them. Go get them.
All right, 31-17 UConn.
Ooh, okay. All right, I'll see you guys later. You guys continue on. Yeah. I'm just going to jump off here. All right.
Go ahead.
It's great seeing you, bud. Great seeing you.
You too, man.
All right.
You too,
see
man.
you soon.
All right. Later.
So, Pete, I didn't know that you were in North Carolina. You had been doing the Locked On podcast, which you guys do a great job. You had been doing basketball. I mean, I saw basketball primarily. Did you do football last year as well?
I started off with the TNT football podcast on Spotify with Bobby Wilson, who he's adopted UConn as his team to cover. He's never went to UConn. He's more of a national type of podcaster, and does all of college football. He has a weekly podcast doing all of college football every week. He's written reviews on every single team up until this past season, just because he had a child. But he's been a writer, doing reviews on every team in the nation the past 2 years. I think he's involved now with the voting for the Lambert Cup. I think it's the Lambert Cup, which is votes for the best team in the Northeast every year. So, and we just hit it off because just by messaging each other, having discussions about football, and he decided to have me on the show one day because I had some material about the draft prowess and player development prowess of our football team when everybody was trying to tell us to cancel the program. And we kind of hit it off, and started doing more podcasts off and on. He's had me on full time the last 7-8 months. We cover UConn exclusively, from recruiting to game previews, things of that nature. And then we got asked by Mark Zanetto this past fall to be on Locked On every Friday as part of a football segment he wanted to include on his show, because he did mostly basketball. Sorry for the beeps in the background. So that's how I've gotten on in the podcasting, and here I am now with you.
Was this the first time you had started doing it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
All within the last year. Yeah.
Wow. Because I mean, you know the game, and you guys do an excellent job with it. Do you know on the recruiting end so far what they have going into 2025?
They have signed the number 1 rated quarterback in Virginia for this year. Who else? That's the big headliner. I have a list on my
But I mean,
phone. I
they're
can't, but they are making inroads already. They are signing kids that we would
yeah.
not even sniff in years prior in terms of talent.
Okay. Okay.
So they're getting guys. Their player personnel department, excuse me, was very good, as you saw from the type of transfers that we signed this past spring. The type of talent that they brought in. I mean, you already see it on display with
Yes.
Darrell Robinson, Mel Brown at running back, Shamar Porter at the wide receiver spot. T.J. Sheffield, Skylar
Skylar
Bell.
Bell. Yeah.
Nick. I mean, they totally made over this team and showed the rest of the country and UConn fandom, what kind of things we can do if we set it up properly. I think Coach Moore did a very masterful job in setting this team up a lot like an NFL franchise because, the financial model is pretty similar in terms of NIL and everything else, just doesn't have a
Correct.
cap.
Correct.
And so, they're continuing to evolve it. I mean, things on your end, from Mr. Barton and other people involved in the NIL spot. So it's all coming together. And for a small state university, for them, put themselves in line to compete with big state schools, it says something about UConn and the type of drive that everybody has to not only propel the football team, but everybody in athletics.
Yeah. Yeah. I give Mike Burton so much credit for Bleeding Blue and the work that he's done and the money that he's raised because you see the difference on the field. And that's why I always put them over Bleeding Blue for good. Always go, donate, give. He doesn't need the $10,000 donations. He needs a couple $100. If more people can donate, we'll get to the number that he needs. I know that during the bye week, they sat down with the coaching staff and worked out everything. Who they want to keep, who's going to need more money, where they're going to need money to bring in transfers. I don't know if they're paying any of the freshmen, but it's a whole new game. What are your thoughts overall on NIL and the transfer portal?
I mean, it's a big mess, like everybody said, because I don't think anyone planned for it.
Yeah.
So everybody is figuring it out as they go.
Yeah.
However, given the quote chaos, I think that has evolved. I think, like I said, I think this coaching staff and these groups of alums have done an extraordinary job. Like I thought they might, because UConn and its alumni base has a lot of smart people, particularly from a business aspect. They've made it work,
Yeah.
and you're starting to see the fruits of it. I can only imagine if we get more of a stable foothold, substantively, financially, what can be done here. Given all the chaos that Moore literally walked into, not only in trying to revamp a program that's been down for 11 years, but having to deal with this new landscape. I give him a lot of credit for, just taking the last 3 years just to create a stable base off of which to grow. I mean, that wasn't easy.
You built the
Anybody that
culture.
knows, yeah, anybody that knows, football and the ins and outs of it knows how difficult a job that was. And he's done a great job so far.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Realistically, I think 7 wins, 8 wins are possible. Do you think with that success and basketball having success, men's and women's, we will get into a Power 5 conference either this year, next year, the year after that? Do you see it coming?
I'm hearing a lot of rumors that it's not a question of if, but it's a question of when and where, which conference.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, including myself, are kind of tired of the Big 12. You know,
I am too.
it's just kind of like trying to constantly be courted and then just be dumped like the last minute because
every time
something about you ain't quite right, and it's just like, okay. And I kind of joke, when it was going down the second time. I'm like, I kind of use Beyonce's line: if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. I mean, to sign the contract. Everybody's saying, "Oh, we're gonna go again." I'm like, I'm not gonna believe anything until I hear a contract sign, and and sure enough, after the Maryland game, they used that as an excuse to pull the rug out again, and it certainly seems a lot of.
That's what people have said. Do you really think that the Maryland game was the deciding factor this time?
I think it gave everybody that in the Big 12 that opposed the move an excuse to say they're not ready.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially with the original proposal they had of not of football not joining until 2031.
Yeah.
That was a tell right there that not everybody was on board, and those kinds of provisions they're not offered to other teams that are wanted in other conferences. So and unfortunately, I say in other podcasts, the football team isn't the only one under audition. It's the fans.
No. Right. You got to
draw. The fans, believe it or not, you're the ones under audition, and more so probably than the football team, because these conferences want to see, what kind of revenue they're going to be able to generate, what kind of support you're going to have. You got a pretty good team right now. How's it going to turn out? What kind of fan turnout you're going to have in order to justify the financial arguments to have you in our conference. So, the Big 12 is looking to make money, same with all these other teams in terms of, providing teams that are attracted to, TV networks and big TV contracts and streaming now. So, for all the people that are, just freely throwing the daggers out at UConn verbally online, they're hurting the cause, not only I think for football, but for basketball too, because if those revenue streams are cut or are going to be compromised because we're not in a conference, you're eventually going to see a trickle effect down on the other athletics for
100%, 100%.
So,
do you think basketball would be okay with leaving the Big East, or do you think they want to stay?
I think everybody that's an alum sentimentally wants to stay in the Big East.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had our choice, we'd be a part of an Eastern Football League with all our old rivals, but that's not reality. So, it's not we have to be okay with it if we want to survive and continue to brand ourselves as a major brand in college athletics, if that's the type of path you want. Or you can go by, what some nutmeggers want to do in Connecticut and stay in the backwoods and just live their life quietly and not be bothered. And, think you can be called a big timer every once in a while because, you're smarter than everybody else, and you think, that's your entitlement, and that's not how the rest of the country works. So it's like, if you want to play with the big boys, you got to act like it, and you got to, play by those rules. And the TV network guys, those are the ones making up the rules. And, despite our success, which has been massive in basketball, they've told us in a not so straightforward way that those 16 titles don't matter. Honestly, unfortunately.
Really?
They don't matter. They don't matter enough. If they mattered enough, we'd be in a conference by now.
Oh my God! Wow.
We'd be, that's the writing on the wall. They're saying we're looking at football as a revenue stream. You got to play by football, and that's what's honestly pissing a lot of fans off because they made their name in basketball, and unfortunately, some of that venom is going back to the team and to the coach, saying you're holding us back, when it's like it's not anyone's fault. It's just the reality of the situation, and you can make a decision now to play by those rules in order to keep all of UConn, or have a life where eventually this dissolves and you can reminisce about the good old days in the Big East. Yeah. That's the reality that we're facing, unfortunately.
No, I hear you. I hear you for sure. It's just like they could be the first team to three-peat since the 70s. and they have the talent to do so in basketball. But like you said, the revenue model, without getting into a conference for football, the trickle-down effect, we don't have the sustainability for football for the next 10 years unless we do get into a conference, right? Without either dropping down or eliminating the program. That's what's so discouraging. Because I was part of it. I was part of it when we went to FBS, and we, for a period, really 2002, 2003 to 2010, we were as good, or if not better, than the basketball team. And I think that we can get back there. We're right at the point of doing so. Yeah. Well, you are my fire, the one desire, believe when I say I want it that way, 'cause we are two worlds apart. Can't reach to your heart when you say that I want it that way. Tell me why he ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why he ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why oh, there he is. Oh, I can't add him. Can I add him on? Pete, you're good. I can't add you back on because it's not my show. I have no power to add you back on. You're good. You're good. I'll wrap it up. Let me let him know. Yeah. Yeah, no, Pete, you're good. You're good. I can't add you back on. Yeah, Pete Callen, Locked On Podcast. Fantastic job. Fantastic analysis. I like his prediction. I think we're definitely gonna win this one, and hopefully win our last home game next week against Georgia State before going to Syracuse. That'll be the big one. Got to take care of Syracuse and UMass, who we should destroy. So 7-8 win season is not out of the question at all. So yeah, you're good to go. I apologize, Pete. So Dave, I'm gonna give you a little viral video. Here we go. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Am I your fire, your one desire? Yes, I know it's too late, but I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heart. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Now I can see that we've fallen apart from the way that it used to be. Yeah, no matter the distance, I want you to know that deep down inside of me, you are my fire, the one desire. You are, you are, you are, you are. Dun, 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 dun. Don't wanna hear you. Ain't nothing but a heartache. Ain't nothing but a mistake. I never wanna hear you say, oh yeah, I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way, 'cause I want it that way. Not my best performance, but it'll do. It'll do.